Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping back, way back about 1,000 years.
Yeah, a long way.
Not to Rome or Greece, though.
Yeah.
We're heading into the heart of the Islamic Golden Age.
A really vibrant time, intellectually speaking.
Specifically, we're digging into the sources about Abu al-Qasim al-Zahrawi. You might know him better from the Latin West as Albucasis.
And he's genuinely one of the giants of medical history.
Yeah.
We need to picture 10th century Cordoba,
Okay.
which back then, you could argue, was probably the most advanced city in Europe.
Yeah.
Al-Zahrawi, born there around 936 CE, he did something quite radical.
What was that?
He took centuries of medical knowledge, kind of built on it, innovated, and crucially, he designed the actual physical tools that, believe it or not, modern surgery still uses.
The numbers are just wild. Our sources say over 200 distinct surgical instruments designed by him.
That's right, documented and designed.
And these aren't just museum pieces. We're talking tools whose basic designs outlasted huge tech shifts, stainless steel, modern sterilization, all of that. So our mission for this deep dive, we really need to get our heads around how his enormous textbook, Al-Tasrif, became, well, the blueprint for surgery as we know it.
And the big question, why did his instrument designs stick around? Why were they so good they barely needed changing for a millennium?
It's like functional immortality through engineering.
That's a good way to put it. Let's start with the book itself, Al-Tasrif.
Okay, let's set the scene first. Before Al-Zahrawi, what do the sources tell us surgery was like? It seems pretty rough.
Oh, absolutely. It was often seen as, well, a bit lowbrow, dangerous, often done by barbers, maybe traveling practitioners. Knowledge was scattered.
Not written down systematically.
Not really, or only vaguely. A lot was just passed down word of mouth. So Al-Tasrif comes along and just changes the entire field.
How so?
It took surgery from this sort of desperate last-ditch effort and turned it into something organized, something he saw as both a science and, importantly, an art.
A discipline.
A proper discipline, yes. And Al-Tasrif wasn't just about surgery, remember? It was huge, 30 volumes, a whole medical encyclopedia.
Wow.
But the final volume, that was the one all about surgery. And the truly game-changing thing there, it wasn't just the words.
The illustrations.
Exactly. The detailed, systematic illustrations. That was revolutionary.
So not just use a knife, but use this knife, and here's what it looks like.
Precisely. Drawings of every single one of those 200-plus instruments. Scalpels, saws for bone, hooks, forceps, catheters, cauterizing tools, you name it.
You could actually see the tool.
Yeah. And think about what that does for teaching, for spreading knowledge. Before this, learning surgery meant finding a master, watching them, maybe getting some hands-on time.
Very apprentice-based.
Very. But these diagrams, they made the knowledge replicable, standardized. Someone in, say, Baghdad or maybe Paris could look at the drawing, have the tool made.
And they'd have the same instrument as was being used in Cordoba.
Functionally identical, yes. This is huge for you, the learner, to grasp. It cut down massively on dangerous guesswork. Improvisation.
Made it safer.
Much safer. It started turning surgery into something more predictable because surgeons everywhere could use tools with the same design, the same mechanics. It wasn't just documenting tools. It was like creating the first manual for surgical equipment manufacturing.
Okay, so that explains the spread of knowledge.
Yeah.
That leads to that second question.
Why are some of those designs still around?
Yeah, this is where it gets, well, really fascinating for me. Out of all those tools, some basic designs are just so effective they're still manufactured, still used in ORs today, 10 centuries later.
It comes down to the engineering principles, really. Let's talk scalpels.
Okay.
Al-Zahrawi scalpels. They had these narrow, very precise blades. The design wasn't just about being sharp, it was about control. Minimum tissue damage.
Right.
Look at modern scalpels, even disposable ones. They still have that core idea, balance in the hand, precise point, minimal cutting surface area for maximum control.
And you have to remember the context. No modern anesthesia back then.
Exactly. Speed was critical. Precision was critical. You had to minimize shock, minimize pain. The tool had to feel like an extension of your hand.
That need for speed and precision probably drove the design robustness.
I think so. Take forceps, for instance. His designs for stopping bleeding hemostatic forceps. They look remarkably like the ones we use now.
Really?
Yeah. They needed a good locking mechanism, the right leverage to grip a blood vessel firmly without, crushing it completely, but tight enough to stop the bleeding fast.
It's just physics, isn't it?
It's timeless mechanics. Leverage, grip, pressure. Those principles don't change.
So he found the most efficient way to do the job. mechanically.
Seems like it. It's that idea of minimum effective design. Once you nail the mechanics for a specific function, you can maybe change the material better, steel disposability, but the core shape, the function, it's already optimized.
And the fact they've lasted 1,000 years just proves how well thought out that initial engineering was.
Absolutely. And he wasn't just doing general surgery. He applied the same precision thinking to specialized fields too.
That's important. It wasn't just about big cuts. He was thinking small, thinking specific.
Right. Always focused on reducing harm, giving the surgeon more control in tricky situations. Think about dentistry.
Okay, what did he do there?
Well, the sources show he designed specific dental tools, not just for yanking out bad teeth, though he had tools for that too.
But more refined stuff.
Yeah, like tools for scaling, scraping tartar off the roots of teeth, and even instruments to like file down sharp bits of bone left after an extraction so the gums would heal better.
That shows a real focus on the patient's recovery, not just the immediate problem.
Exactly. Long-term thinking. And then there's obstetrics. His work there was genuinely life-saving.
How so? Forceps?
Yes, various types of obstetric forceps designed to help deliver a baby in difficult births, moving beyond just using hands.
Giving the physician more options.
Or control safer options. And, well, we have to mention the grimmer side of things, given the times. He also designed tools, quite specific ones, for removing a deceased fetus to save the mother's life. An instrument called a mishdock.
Grim, but necessary then, I suppose.
Absolutely necessary for survival.
Yeah.
His approach was pragmatic. Giving a surgeon a precise tool for that awful procedure meant the mother had a much, much better chance. Controlled procedure versus, well, something much worse.
Okay, let's shift to something that sounds maybe a bit brutal today. Cauterization.
Ah, yes. Burning tissue.
It had been used for ages, right?
Yeah.
To stop bleeding or fight infection, but it sounds pretty crude.
It often was crude, unpredictable, dangerous. What Al-Zahrawi did was refine it. He made cauterization into a controlled surgical technique.
Oh, better tools.
Exactly. Specialized tools, not just one hot poker. He designed different heated metal instruments, different shapes, different sizes, fine-tipped rods for sealing tiny blood vessels.
Okay.
Broad, flat ones for larger surface areas. Even curved ones designed to reach deep inside an abscess, say, without burning everything else around it.
So the innovation wasn't just using heat, it was how and where you applied it precisely.
Precisely. He wrote detailed instructions. When to use cautery, which tool to use for what specific problem, and exactly how to apply it safely.
Taking it from a blunt instrument to a precision tool.
Absolutely. He turned it into a reliable method for things like sealing arteries during amputations, treating fistulas, even removing certain skin growths. Control was key.
So this mastery of tools and techniques,
Yeah.
how did it spread? How did it get beyond Cordoba?
Right. This is where his influence really explodes onto the European scene. It wasn't just contained within the Islamic world.
Because his book got translated.
Yes, this is crucial. The surgical section of Al-Tasrif, that final illustrated volume, was translated into Latin
When was this?
in the 12th century by Gerard of Cremona, a famous translator working in Toledo. And this translation wasn't just some academic exercise. It basically became the foundational surgical text for Western Europe.
So European medical schools suddenly had this comprehensive illustrated guide.
Exactly what they needed. Authority, clarity, and those crucial visuals. It took off immediately. Became the standard surgical textbook in the big new universities Bologna, Montpellier, Paris.
And it stayed that way.
For an incredibly long time. We're talking 500 years, half a millennium. Think about that. Surgeons across medieval and Renaissance Europe were learning from his diagrams,
Copying his tools.
directly copying his tools, identifying conditions based on his descriptions. His work shaped European surgery for centuries.
There's a really striking historical note about that, isn't there? About how long his influence lasted.
Yeah, get this. Even as late as the 16th century, long after Cordoba's peak, centuries later, European surgical books were still printing drawings of instruments and labeling them specifically as Albucasis' tools.
Wow. So his 10th century designs were still the gold standard 600 years later.
Pretty much undeniable proof of his lasting impact. An unbroken line from the 900s right into the early modern era.
So if we boil it down, what's the core legacy here?
I think his true genius was combining the theory, careful observation, building on ancient knowledge with incredibly practical, elegant engineering. He don't just say how to do something.
He gave you the actual means to do it.
Exactly. The physical tools designed so well they could be reliably replicated that made procedures safer, more predictable, more effective.
And that legacy, it's not just history, is it? It connects directly to today.
Absolutely. For you listening, think about it. His focus on smart design, minimum effective design precision, communicating clearly through pictures, and always, always patient safety. That's the foundation.
That's what modern surgery is built on.
It really is. Those principles echo in every operating room today. His tools aren't just artifacts, they really are the enduring blueprints.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Well, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? If Al-Zahrawi's engineering for surgery was so fundamentally sound, so optimized, that it basically couldn't be significantly improved for 1,000 years, what other foundational knowledge, what other applied science from that same Islamic golden age, maybe in optics or chemistry or hydraulics, might we be underappreciating today? Just because the technology around it has changed, maybe we've overlooked some core principles that are still just as valid. Something for you to definitely mull over.